Gonna keep it real honest with y'all. Really annoyed. I do not understand for the life of me why you have grown people that would think that a unified champion with the biggest fight of his career for the biggest payday of his career and a fight that he is favored versus one of the greatest fighters that we have ever had in the sport. And y'all would just assume that he wants nothing to do with this fight. That was like the initial reaction. So when an injury appears and suddenly he can't take the fight, um, it then becomes well, is he faking it? Or we need proof. And I can understand when it comes to the idiots of the sport. So like, boxing fans, I mean, the large majority of them are idiots. I think we can all like agree on that. But then you have to talk about what happens when somebody who actually has a reputation starts to regurgitate the same bullshit that you get from a lot of these stupid fans. And that's where Bernard Hopkins kind of comes into this shit. Now, Bernard Hopkins does not benefit, he doesn't suffer, and he has no hand and no part of the Pacquiao versus Spence fight. He doesn't manage any of these guys, he doesn't promote any of these guys, he isn't even producing a fighter that is going to be on this card. And yet, he thought it was in his best interest to question another fighter, despite the fact that he was a guy who was in Spence's shoes in his career when he had suffered injuries and he couldn't continue fights. And he saw the way that other people attacked him. And instead of, being smart about shit and saying to himself like, whoa, I don't like this type of attitude that I'm seeing from the fans, especially when it comes to a detached retina. Maybe it might just be smart for me to say, hey, wish the guy some luck. Retinas are not retinas are what the Achilles injury is to athletes like in basketball and in football, like the ACL tear. Um, in baseball, it's not necessarily the UCL tear, but like if you do blow out your elbow, you're never really gonna come back the same. But in boxing, the retina injury that's your eyes, bro. Like that's not a game. And I don't get it. Why would you assume that Errol Spence would fake a retina injury? And it's not to say that, you know, this kind of just like came out of a spur of the moment. I think the fans kind of got, thrown off track by this. But a retina injury, and I'm not a physician. I'm not. I'm not going to sit there and talk to you like I'm some doctor. But when you have an eye injury, it's very, very difficult for you to actually tell unless you get it examined. Like, like for instance, like my aunt, like a couple years back, had to go in because she was showing signs of glaucoma. And for her, while her vision didn't really like show severe like to it, her glaucoma was visible, like very, very visible, as if it was like covering three-quarters of her eye. But she could see clearly. Like, yes, she wore glasses, but she could see clearly. She could see the same as if she had the glasses, as if she was, and she could see the same way as if she had no glasses. So there was no real way for her to tell how severe was the glaucoma, but you could see it. And when they did an examination, they realized that they needed to have her go get surgery. So she got surgery on it. And from what I'm hearing about this retina situation, it's the same thing. Errol Spence doesn't have like an orbital break, where the structure of his face is like kind of impaired. No, it's an injury to the eye, and it's an injury that is not really detectable unless you go get it examined. So the fact that they caught this prior to the fight and they wouldn't clear Spence to fight tells you how severe the injury was. You don't run the risk of going through all these formalities and these checkpoints for a commission to deem you healthy when you are not. And then when something bad happens, you can't even hold them liable, you know? And I really feel bad for Errol Spence because it's not just that he's missing out on the Pacquiao fight, but this could very well kill his career. Like, that's the part that I don't think a lot of people are kind of just like processing is that, this isn't just like, oh, he'll be back, he'll be better than ever. Like, even if he does come back, I don't think he's going to be the same person. Do we not realize that Abner Mares is wearing shades 24/7 because of his retina injury? And the fact that he will probably never fight again in the sport? And the same idiots who are probably saying that this injury is fake are probably the same idiots that would have preferred Spence to go through with this fight. And then if he has a physical afterwards that says that he was hurt going in, for them to still say, oh, that's bullshit. Because they were never going to fucking believe him. And it's just pathetic that he had to actually release all these documents because of all these things that are being said. Because now you guys, and I'm talking to you dumb motherfuckers who wanted to die on this fucking hill about him faking the injury. Now, when any guy gets an injury, you better hold him to the same standards. You better ask for medical proof. I'm not talking about a statement. I'm talking about medical proof. I don't give a fuck if they got to show you the blood samples. You set that precedent. So before you come here and you talk about, oh, but you got to realize it's about the other guys that they were saying were faking. I don't give a fuck about all that. If you wanted to say Tyson Fury faked COVID so that he didn't want to fight Deontay Wilder, that's your business to do. I don't see Tyson Fury releasing his samples. If you want to sit there and say that Ryan Garcia has mental problems and he can't really fight because of it, I don't give a fuck. Y'all didn't sit there and ask for him to release his log from his therapist. He out there busting nuts and other chicks while y'all sitting there eating this up. So when people talk about something like this, which is essentially a career-ending injury that we won't really know how he progresses from surgery until months from now, and the fact that it comes at a time where he was scheduled to fight the biggest fight of his career against one of the greatest fighters that has ever graced the sport. And this is how y'all want to remember him. That he had to release medical paperwork to show that he was indeed injured and Errol Spence might potentially never fight again. Good job, y'all. Good job. Good job.